In recent years, Vietnam has emerged as one of Asia's most dynamic and rapidly growing economies, projected to reach a GDP of $469.7 billion by end of 2024. Comparatively, Vietnam's economy is smaller than that of regional giants like China, Japan, and South Korea, but it is growing at a much faster rate. For instance, while Japan's economy has been relatively stagnant with a GDP of approximately $4 trillion, Vietnam's growth rate has consistently been above 6% annually. China, with a GDP of over $17 trillion, remains the largest economy in the region, but its growth rate has slowed down compared to previous decades. India, with a GDP of over $3.5 trillion, has a more diversified economic structure, while Vietnam's model heavily relies on export-driven growth and foreign direct investment. Other ASEAN countries like Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines have also experienced significant economic growth, but Vietnam's development trajectory stands out due to its dynamic export sector and increasing foreign direct investment. Thailand's GDP, for instance, is around $550 billion, and Malaysia's is about $445 billion, but both countries face economic challenges that Vietnam has managed to navigate more effectively. Vietnam's transformation into a major export-driven economy began in the late 1980s with the introduction of the Doi Moi reforms. These reforms shifted the country from a centrally planned economy to a socialist-oriented market economy, encouraging private enterprise and foreign investment. Initially, Vietnam's exports were dominated by agricultural products like rice, coffee, and rubber. However, over the years, the country diversified its export base to include manufacturing and high-tech goods. By the 2000s, Vietnam had become a major exporter of textiles, garments, and footwear. More recently, the country has seen a significant increase in the export of electronics, machinery, and mobile phones, largely driven by multinational corporations setting up production facilities in Vietnam. In 2023, Vietnam's export revenue reached a record high of $354 billion, positioning it among the world's top 30 exporters. Key markets include the United States, China, Japan, and the European Union, with U.S. imports from Vietnam rising by almost 2 percentage points since the onset of U.S.-China trade tensions in 2018. The Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership and other free trade agreements have further bolstered Vietnam's export potential by reducing trade barriers and opening new markets. This surge in exports has been closely linked to significant foreign direct investment, which has played a crucial role in Vietnam's economic development. Since the early 1990s, substantial foreign direct investment inflows have modernized Vietnam's industrial base and integrated it into the global supply chain, enhancing its competitive edge in both labor-intensive manufacturing and high-tech industries. In 2023, Vietnam attracted approximately $36.6 billion in FDI, with significant contributions from countries like South Korea, Japan, Singapore, and China. Singapore led the pack with over $6.9 billion, comprising 18.6% of the total FDI inflow. Major sectors drawing FDI include manufacturing, real estate, energy, and information technology. The arrival of multinational companies such as Samsung, Intel, and LG has not only boosted export revenues, but also created millions of jobs and facilitated technology transfer, significantly enhancing Vietnam's economic landscape. This influx of FDI has been driven by the Vietnamese government's proactive policies to attract foreign investors, including tax incentives, infrastructure improvements, and reforms aimed at reducing bureaucratic red tape. Moreover, the development of industrial zones and technology parks has created a conducive environment for foreign businesses, further accelerating economic growth and modernization. So, what has Vietnam done differently? Several key factors set Vietnam's economic strategy apart from its regional peers, driving its impressive growth trajectory. Foremost among these is the implementation of the Doi Moi reforms, which fundamentally transformed the economic landscape by fostering private enterprise and attracting foreign investment. Vietnam's unwavering commitment to continuous reform has cultivated a dynamic and resilient economy. By capitalizing on its competitive advantage in labor-intensive manufacturing, Vietnam has evolved into a global export powerhouse, successfully diversifying from its agricultural roots to include electronics and high-tech goods. Significant investments in education and vocational training have further enhanced productivity and attracted high-tech industries. Additionally, infrastructure development, including the construction of roads, ports, and power plants, has facilitated smoother logistics and reduced production costs. Proactive trade policies, such as signing free trade agreements like the CPTPP and the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, have opened new markets for exports and made Vietnam an attractive destination for foreign investors. Despite the rapid changes, Vietnam has maintained a relatively stable political environment, fostering a favorable climate for economic growth and investment. This comprehensive and forward-thinking approach has not only bolstered economic growth but also positioned Vietnam as a key player in the global market. Reflecting on Vietnam's transformation from a war-torn nation to an export-led economy, it's clear that its economic journey has lifted millions out of poverty. However, to keep attracting investors, it must improve its business environment and diversify beyond manufacturing. The journey to becoming a high-income economy by 2045 is not assured. Countries like Thailand and Malaysia have faced similar paths but fell into the middle-income trap, unable to transition from low-cost to high-value economies. As Vietnam's economy grows, wages will rise, making reliance on a low-cost model unsustainable. To achieve its 2045 goal, Vietnam must reinvest in developing high-skilled sectors like finance, logistics, and legal services. The World Bank recommends supporting tech adoption, improving management skills, and easing FDI restrictions. While business excitement around Vietnam is justified, turning today's opportunities into long-term prosperity will require strategic investment and effort. That's where we end our video. Thanks for tuning in.